Okay, well, I'm joined with Susie Cochran, who is the writer and performer, actor in the upcoming play called Priscilla, Queen of the Disaster. So, Susie, thank you for joining me on Radio Shields.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, the play, which is coming up on the 29th of July at the Customs House, it's based on your own life experiences as a mother. So tell me a little bit about it and how you came to write and perform in it.
So the show is based on my life. It's my story, like you say. I'm a mother of 2 children, and it is a story about surviving the early years of motherhood. And and how it can be a multitude of things. So it can be the most wonderful, brilliant, just blessing that you could have ever imagined, but it is also the most demanding and hardest and the most guilty I've ever felt as well. And I think, we live in a society that's sort of guilty. Mum guilt, it's a real thing and it's savage. But I think mum guilt and all of that stuff is really, really hard and not shared enough. And I'm not sure that that's the best way forward for us as parents. So I thought I'd write this show. It started off as a blog, and then I built it up from there and decided to write a show so that we could just sit for just over an hour and just sort of connect on those things that went amazingly and the embarrassing parts and all of those things, so that people feel a little bit less alone.
I bet you could probably have written for 3-4 hours, no doubt, with all the experiences and ups and downs.
Absolutely. Like it was that literally was the case. The show was much longer than it is now. So when I'd written it originally, I was like, that's got to go. It was when I got my director Nathan Stickley on board that he was like, actually there's too much here. And I was like, and they're only little. So I was like, there's just gonna get more. I mean, they do provide me with constant material. So lots of stories to tell.
Well, it's interesting. I don't know how old your children are at the moment, but do they have any sense of being centre stage in a real life production about their and your life?
So the boys are older now, so they're not toddlers anymore, but the show is based sort of around that time. So when my youngest was a newborn and my eldest was sort of 2 or 3. Now they're like 9 and 7, and I think we're about the right stage, because the eldest is just embarrassed by my existence. Yes. He doesn't want to walk with me. He doesn't want to acknowledge me. He's the whole thing he finds a little bit cringe. But the youngest one is a little bit more of a show off. He gets that from me. He's very excited about it. He's very excited and very kind of he's into it. But I've realised I've only got him for another couple of years, and then he's going to be embarrassed too. But I don't think they know that it's about them. And I talk about how parenting is about how hard it is. We try to talk about a lot of the emotions and how you should feel everything and not just, be positive all the time. And I talk about that with them a lot. So I sort of say that's what the show is about. They're about the right. They're in about the right place with it, I think.
Good. The show, from what I've read, I haven't obviously been to see it yet, but it sounds like it's a bit of a mix of a kind of comedy, tragedy, mystery, all good fun rolled into one. How would you describe it best?
I would say it was all of those. I think a motherhood can be really, really unexpected. So the vision that we have of it, or the version that we have of it in our heads before we actually entail on it, is very different than the reality. And so I think humor is a really good way to sort of bridge that gap, to be able to laugh at the things that have happened to you. Because the things that are in this show are not just completely exclusive to me, of course, but I like to laugh at the things that have happened, but I also like to be really real about them, and really real about how I found it really difficult, and how I found myself in unexpected situations, and how I am a single parent now, and tackling that journey and how it all happened. So I do tackle all of those things, because I think it's really important to as well. Like I said at the beginning, it's important to share the things that you find really, really hard in it as well. So the show is a mix of all of those. So you'll come out having felt all of, like, everything, I suppose.
A bit of an emotional roller coaster ride, sounds.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Fantastic. And have you ever performed up at the Customs House in South Shields up the northeast?
Never have I performed there. So I'm really, really excited about it. I love going to a new venue and meeting different people with different perspectives. Because what I like to do afterwards as well is hang about a bit, and we have a little chat. We have a little show discussion, so I can hear their stories too. So I think that's really important. Is when I find that once you share your story, it encourages other people to share theirs, and that's what I really, really love about it. So I'm really excited to meet new people from a different area and perform at a theatre that I've never been at. So I'm really excited about that.
Because what's your background? Have you got a theatrical background or writing, acting?
So it's a bit mixed, really. It's a bit of a jumble. So I started off as a dancer, and then obviously had to knock that on the head once the kids came along.
That could have been a challenge.
Do you know, there was one gig that I did. I tried to carry on after I'd had my eldest, and I got in at 5 a.m. and he woke up at 6. And it was at that moment she realised she'd made an error. I was like, oh, absolutely not. So I started up as a dancer, but in that I was sort of like, when I did shows, I toured with that show, and I did a comic role in that. And I've been a bit of an actress, but I found my feet with this sort of show because it's kind of like storytelling as opposed to acting or, putting on a show. I'm just storytelling and having a bit of a laugh, and there's comedy in there as well. So it's like a new genre for me, and I've really enjoyed developing that. But I've done all sorts of mix of things, really.
And I guess you're kind of playing yourself in this role. You don't have to act or be somebody else. It
is a strange thing. Like, I find it more comfortable going out there and being myself than if somebody gave me a script to be somebody else. And there's a freedom with it. So there is no two shows are the same. Of course, they have the same script, but because it's my show, I tend to, if I find that people react really well to one part, I get to go off on a bit of a tangent about that. So it keeps it really fresh for me, keeps it fresh for them. And although there is a structure to it and the story will come out, no two shows are the same. And I think that's a real lovely thing about writing your own stuff. You get freedom with it. You're not stuck to that script. So you
haven't got some producer director kind of saying, stop, do that again, do it differently.
If anything, they come out and they go, well, I've never heard that bit before, and we all have a big old laugh about it because I'll just go off onto a tangent about something. So that's the real fun part about it, actually.
And you can just improvise and just it sounds fantastic, and I'm really looking forward to seeing it. It's on at the Customs House, South Shields, Friday the 29th of July, 8 p.m. So all the success with that, and it's really been great to speak to you, Susie. Thanks for joining me on Radio Shields.
Thank you so much for having me.